Come on.
That takes time to do all that.
All right. So we were dropping quite a few frames there, trying to live stream to both YouTube. My wife's new body she painted, very proud of it. We have been dropping quite a few frames there in YouTube and Facebook. So I went ahead and dropped off YouTube, but I started a recording. We're starting to baseline out a little bit here, and I'll upload that after this is all done. So we will not be live tonight on YouTube as we're still experiencing the same issues as before. It looks like we're still dropping frames on Facebook, but I have a real hard issue trying to upload to Facebook for some reason. So we'll just have to try to power through. Looks like we're waiting on Robert Whitaker before we can get underway.
Might get different truck body later.
T, you can stay in here.
That's fine, not now.
Yeah, I know. But she doesn't know that she can stay in here now. We're running the ghost program. Stay behind there in case somebody needs something, okay? All right, there's Robert Whitaker getting his car put on. I got all three cars up here in the window, so I know everybody is doing right. All right. If everybody's ready, give me a thumbs up when you are. Randy Kirtley there, crouching down, track marshaling this heat. All right, get ready. Watch your lights. We need an orange sticker. That's a circle track. Okay. All right, everybody, watch your lights. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going green. As soon as those lights drop out, we'll be going green here. Glenn Burden, green. Sam Nelson, orange. Robert Whitaker, blue. Guillermo Sauer, yellow. Tom Payton, purple. Excuse me. Randy Kirtley there, quickly trying to get the cars put back on. Rules state if one of the drivers hit the button, they go in front of the start finish line. Yes, drivers, if you hit the button, you can hit it on as long as the cars are crashing on the back stretch. But if they crash on the front stretch or underneath the donut, you get your car put in front of the start finish line. All right, so we see Guillermo there. His car very, very quick there on yellow. Recently, Randy done a little bit of modifications there. As we had a car stalled out there on orange. Sam Nelson's car there just kind of stopped for a second. Maybe an issue with the braid, possibly, kind of coming out. That high banks is very, very high. I know you can't hardly tell it here in the screen, but that thing's almost at a 45-degree angle. So if you're not carrying some speed going through there, it can cause some issues there. Technically, both of those cars should have been in the front of the start-finish line. Drivers are not allowed to hit the button unless the cars come off on the back stretch where they are driver paneled. If our track marshals can get to the car, they can get to it. You just got to hang on. Uh, I hate it, but it's the whole point is to keep the race moving. If you wreck, you wreck. That's just how it is. Uh, we want to be able to let the guys that do keep a good, steady uh, trigger control down to be able to actually do their race more consistently speaking, while others that are still trying to learn the track, it's good to kind of get in the mode of, hey, if I slow down, I won't come off, therefore I won't have to hit the button or have to wait on a track marshal to get me back on. All the way around, it just helps people to race a little bit cleaner, race a little bit better, because the risks are a little bit higher. So the change that was made by my brother, and I think it's a really good change, as we can tell a big difference in the way everybody drives. You can tell it, I can tell it. We're going multiple laps now in succession with people not wrecking simply because they're not allowed to drive it as deep, mentally speaking, because if they do, they'll end up coming off the track and causing a whole mess of trouble. A nice coast there at the end by Glenn Burden across the start-finish line there on green. Guillermo Sauer currently in the lead with 26 laps, followed by Robert Whitaker, Tom Payton, Sam Nelson, and Glenn Burden with 24. Very, very tight racing here after the first heat. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it is Gerald Suttle's going to be coming in after this. And it should be a ghost that comes in to fill his spot. And that makes it where that from here on out we should have every 2 heats or so, or maybe every 3 heats, we'll get to where it's all 3 drivers, and then it'll be back down to two drivers and a ghost. So we always consecutively have at least 2 drivers out there track marshaling. So one can be on one side of the donut, the other one can be on the other side of the donut to get any cars on the left portion of the track that you see in your screen in the bottom right. Now, if they wreck on the right portion of the track, that's over by the driver panel. The drivers are allowed to hit their buttons and put their car back on exactly where it's at. But if they hit it anywhere that our track marshals can get to, pretty much if you split the high banks corner down the middle, anything on the left side of that, our track marshals can get to. And that goes all the way up through the center of the track there. And if they hit it there, then they go in front of the line. So very, very detrimental if they hit it there in the high banks, for sure, as they'll lose a complete lap there. And it basically keeps wrecks from happening, and that's pretty much what it's for. That's it. It's not really meant for you to get an advantage like we had it when we first opened. People were hitting it to get an advantage. They were hitting the button as soon as they come off, and some people would remember, some people wouldn't. So the people that would remember had a high advantage over others. So now it's the way it should be. It's more of a punishment if you hit it versus an advantage. 50 seconds left to go, and I was right. It looks like Gerald Suttle's going to be coming in on red next to Sam Nelson on white, Guillermo Sauer on orange, Glenn Burden on blue, Robert Whitaker on purple, and Tom Payton on black. This is the Duel Sunday race, GRC. We've held it pretty much since we've been opened, and it is a collaboration of laps between the orange track and the green track. Whoever has the most laps ends up winning this race. So root your favorite driver for sure, and hopefully they'll come out on top. 9 seconds left to go. We see Robert Whitaker getting to the controller station pretty quick as he's ready to get back to racing, taking advantage of all the time he was allotted there in the pit section. So hopefully he got his tires glued up and his braid clean and his axles oiled. So we go back green. First lap I seen turn was by Tom Payton there on black. Medians and best laps all turning around the 4-second margin, low or medium 4-second margin to high 4-second margin. It's just the liberation between the lanes there. So we see a tight race there between purple and black right now. Black actually taking the lead there. Tom Payton driving her a little bit deeper than what Robert Whitaker has. Robert Whitaker coming in, love spending time here at Lanes Raceway. Hadn't seen him in a few weeks, but glad to see him back, as he's always a pleasant addition to us here at Lanes Raceway. Always smiling, having a good time, and he's getting his bikes ready to go to Daytona. He's going to be racing a little bit of flat track. I think he's got a flat track bike he's getting ready, and a regular style dirt bike, if I'm not mistaken. Robert Wicker, he races them dirt bikes. And if you've ever been on a dirt bike, it's not the easiest thing to control or hang on to, especially whenever you're going over hills and inclines and stuff like that. So, Robert does need some accolades for sure for being able to tame those type of machines, as it is very hard on the body. Get another collision taking place there in the S turn. Randy was able to separate the two of Tom Payton and Robert Whitaker and got them back on there in the S turn in a timely fashion. As we get a loud under the bridge call there by Sam Nelson. Sam Nelson's car get put back on white in a timely fashion also. Very much encouraged by the racers to yell bridge. But in my opinion, if you wreck under the bridge, it's probably best if you just go ahead and hit the track button. As we got a rider there on red. And the car was put back on for Sam Nelson. But yes, if the car comes off in the bridge, like I said, probably best if you just go ahead and hit the track button, because you're just right there past the bridge. So you're not losing a whole lot of time. Plus, you'll be able to see your car when it gets put back on, get a little bit of a refresh in the mind, be able to put her back on real quick and get things going. So it looks as of right now, since we dropped off YouTube and we're only live streaming Twitch and Facebook, the frames per second have just, the drop frames are gone. So we're still remaining at about 1,560 frames dropped from the beginning as we cut that. So we might just start doing this from now on. Our YouTube viewers just get a more resolution upgraded copy of the live stream after the live stream's over with. But they can still come on and comment if they would like. That goes for all people on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. You can come on and comment at any time. And as long as this live stream's up and running. So after the end of that, we have Guillermo Sire, 26.5 average laps. Right behind him, Glenn Burden with 25. Total laps 53 and 50 between first and second. I guess you guys seen that in the top left of your screen as I was rambling about dropped frames. 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go before we go back green. Road racing in this live stream on the orange track here at Lanes Raceway. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back with you. Forty seconds left to go. Gives me a little bit of time just to apologize for last night, as we have been trying our best to live stream our drag races here at Lanes Raceway. We've had a few hiccups in it. It looks like right now, currently, we're having a little bit of a delay between my mouth and the words that are coming out of it here on this stream. A lot of it has to do with overdoing how many scenes that we have active at once. But getting the time just able to get this stuff fixed, it requires several hours. So it's almost like a Monday or Tuesday job to try it again and see if we can get things back working. So for our drag racers out there, I'm sorry I wasn't able to get a drag race stream going on the laptop. But if the work that proved true on the pinball live stream worked out well, that should be an indication to show you how our live streams from here on out are going to be going for the drag racers. As it seemed, the pinball stream went very well. Like I said, I just didn't have the time to get everything set up yesterday, as I had quite a few backlogged orders of racers and stuff to be able to fix their cars and stuff. I was just trying to catch up on that. But we do appreciate our drag racers for sure here at Lanes Raceway. Randy Kirtley able to get that car back on at Gerald Suttles on green there, as Randy Kirtley is still down there on the underside of the bridge helping get the cars put back on. Just recently got an order here at Lanes Raceway 2 for all of our racers that come here and race. Didn't get a whole lot of stuff in for drag racing, but we did get quite a few things this order for our circle track guys. I know a lot of the guys were looking for some carbon hubs, and even I was able to even get a Hootie tool tip, so that was pretty cool. And was able to get a tire truer for a gentleman that we've been building cars and stuff for him. That leads me into my next thing. We will build cars here at Lanes Raceway. If you're worried, like, well, I won't be able to keep up with these guys. Their cars are so smooth, they're so fast, they know things that I don't know and stuff like that. I believe we're like one of the only raceways I know of anyway that will actually build you a car that will be competitive, at least with the guys that we have here for sure. As I know for a fact that all the cars that I built have at least podiumed once. So you don't have to worry about the car not getting you to the podium. It's more or less you just have to worry about whether or not you can keep it on the track. So I do take quite a long time building these cars. I charge anywhere from $20 to $25 depending on the difficulty of building the cars. Some of them require a little bit more effort, require a little bit more body strengthening and stuff like that depending on what class that you're in. So that's where the extra $5 comes in. I have to have other stuff to put in it, like sorter and piano wire and stuff like that. But for our 4-inch class and stuff, it's pretty much just a flat rate 20. That gets you balanced tires and wheels, balanced gear, makes sure that your pans are all flat and true. Like I said, hootied and true tires. Gets you whether you want a top end gear ratio or a high RPM, more torquey ratio. That'll get you the better class gears and meshing with angled pinions. Of course, sorted in pinions, in my opinion, are better. At the end of that heat, we have Guillermo 79 laps, Tom Payton and Glenn Burden 74 to round up your top three. Robert Whitaker in fourth with 65, Sam Nelson 47, Gerald Suttle 46, and Bruce Bullington after his first heat with 18. But yes, these cars that we do build, I just recently built one and sent it to you. I'll show it to you what it looks like and kind of give you an understanding of how our pro class works here. This is be a build like what will be in our series build. Now, of course, it has a regular NASCAR style body on it. Where the guy had wanted both a NASCAR style body and he also wanted a truck body, which I have yet to paint. But here's what it looks like from the outside. Got some sparkles in the paint. As you can see, the paint job is very reminiscent of our New Year's build, and that is because it's going to the same guy. This is what we call the New Year's Nebula paint job. But nonetheless, we painted this body here at Lanes Raceway. It's all backed by a flat white to make the colors a little bit brighter. But to go into more depth of this car, what makes it a pro class car, as we can see, this front axle here has been jigged. You've probably seen a video of ours before showing how we do the jig process, but it's been jigged to free up these front wheels so that they can spin a lot freer. You can see how free and smooth that's spinning and how true it is. It also comes with widening, as you can see up here, widening bushings, plastic bushings, which have been tapped to hold oil better and also be a little bit freer. Guide tongue here to strengthen the front end, as that's a silver guide tongue. I don't know if you can see it in the camera there. I don't know if it'll focus or not, but there's brass on the bottom, and then there's this stainless steel guide at the top. And then the last bit of strengthening is here at the top with a piece of piano wire. This is where the advanced cost comes into play, as this costs money, so we have to add cost to it. That has been sorted in there to strengthen the side to side, so if it takes a side hit. Now, what's been done to the guide flag itself, of course, it's been freed up here. You can see I polished the bottom and the top of this where the guide flag goes in. The braids have been kind of fluffed out at the bottom, sanded underneath the guide flag here to give it more of a flatness to the bottom so there's no humps after you push in the braid for the car, and trying to think what else we did to the guide flag. Sanded that. I think that's pretty much it for it. But here on the bottom, that's probably the most interesting part. You can see we've added strengthening sorter here, which I ground out flat. These used to be little, the opposite of these. It used to be like a little cavernous hole that was like upstepped in the bottom of the chassis. I filled it with silver sorter, a hardening type sorter that should give it a little bit more strength there. Plus, it gives it low down weight so that you won't pop out on the front of the guide flag. In the rear, similar situation. As you can see on the back here, there's holes on each side for strengthening on the sides of the motors there, where they've stamped it to give it some strength. So we filled that hole with, I don't know if I can get it just right with the angle, but we filled it with a piece of piano wire and grinded it smooth on the edges here, filled it with sorter and kind of tinned over it to give it a little bit more strength on the bottom. Also adds a little bit more plant weight in the rear of the car, helping it stay planted. The other and last piece of strengthening's here on the motor bracket here, and that goes to tie into the two sides here of where the axle goes in. And that basically, if it takes a rear shot, it won't bend this motor bracket right here this way or this way, because you want it to where the motor is always flat on the chassis like it is here. The other thing we did, of course, is balance out inside this tire. Let me see if I can get the light just right. But inside this tire, you'll see, if I can get it right in the camera, you'll see there's a piece of electrical tape there. That electrical tape balanced out this tire after I hooted it. And of course, we threaded each one of these bushings in the back, sorted them into place also. So altogether, in the rear of this thing, it's very, very free. I took a picture of its best lap time, and on orange, on the green track, it was able to turn a 1.8 something lap. Higher end grade rear spur gear here from Parma. The pink Parma gears, everybody knows, are better than the Cox. Also, the ARP 10-tooth gear there in the back is a little bit hardened steel, and it just makes for a smoother sounding car, a lot smoother reacting. So this thing's very much planted. Now, all this can change with one good hit, but the way this car is set up now, the whole chassis itself was tore all the way down from the beginning, flattened and true to a piece of Koran block. So, I mean, you couldn't even see air gap under this whenever I got done with it. It took a little bit of bending and malleability to get it just perfect. But now when we set it on a block, we have about a 1/16 of an inch underneath the front wheels here, just for clearance, so that when they hit, it keeps it in the lane and keeps it flat and true, keeps the back under control. But other than that, I mean, this thing it's rock solid, and it's fast. And like I said, this is not only a podium finisher time-wise, but this thing right here is definitely a car that could take home first place real easily behind the hands of the right driver. If I was to put this in the hands of Bruce Bullington today, I know for a fact he would come home with a victory with this car. So these are the type of cars that we kind of build here at Lanes Raceway. I know I just spent a whole heat there as these guys were racing. I hope I wasn't taken away from you guys watching these guys race, but that's just kind of the type of stuff we build here. We do take pride in what we build here, and like I said, it takes a full table up over here of me with all my stuff, sorting irons, Dremel tools, grinders, and everything, just to get them up and running, because I love it when guys can come in and be competitive, and I don't, just because they don't know how to build cars, I don't want them being at a disadvantage. So if that's what you're worried about, don't worry about it. Just come on down here to Lanes Raceway. We'll get you set up. The most important thing about racing here at Lanes Raceway is that. Just come down here, race, turn some laps, and you'll get good on your own. My wife, just last night, she was within 10 laps of Nathaniel Burton, who's been doing it for quite some time, and she actually beat her record last night. I actually had to make a comment on YouTube about it. She goes, "I beat my record." She beat it by a couple laps. So, like I said, the more experience you have, the better you end up doing. 16 seconds left to go before we go by green, and maybe I'll shut my mouth about building cars and actually get back to the live stream, do a little bit of commentation about how these guys are racing, and see if there's any tight racing going on since I last looked. As we head back green here, ooh, nice smooth reaction there from Glenn Burden's car coming out of yellow. We get a hard hit up there in the high banks there. That might have been Glenn's car. That thing was flying around there for sure. Well, that looks to be Tom Payton's car there off white. The blip is definitely for sure something that you got to do. We see Sam Nelson there helping the cars along there as he gives a little gentle nudge there to Gerald Suttle. Him and Gerald come down here almost a weekly basis and spend time with us guys. We really do enjoy these guys as they have a racing background and a wrestling background. And definitely adds to the character of Lanes Raceway, these guys. They've been around slot car racing for some time now. And it's just a joy to be around like-minded guys and individuals like that. Like we say yet again, we see that yellow car of Glenn Burden's really flying underneath the bridge there as he goes to chase down the car of Bruce Bullington. Bruce Bullington wasn't able to make it the past couple of weeks, but Bruce Bullington, for sure, when it comes to GRCs, knows how to build them. Ooh, as we get a little bit of body contact between him and Bruce Bullington in the high banks there. Are they going to make it out? They're both right there neck and neck with each other, beating and banging, yellow and blue. As we see Bruce Bullington able to inch out in front of Glenn Burden, but Glenn Burden right on his tails. He tries to reel him back in, just that one little bit of gear ratio change, making a little bit more top end. As we see now Glenn Burden kind of just dialing her back a little bit, but then able to push in hard as Bruce let off a little too soon there. Glenn's able to reel him in as Glenn's able to dive it a little bit deeper there. Bruce Bullington and Glenn Burden neck and neck there off yellow and blue, fighting for everything they got, just getting the inches in. Glenn Burden actually there in the high banks, his car a little bit slung down right now, but putting the pressure on for Bruce Bullington there on blue, as Bruce is able to hang on currently in the lead, but both of them tying up there in the high banks, really just beating and banging. I don't know how either one of them made it out alive in that one lap there. That's definitely clippable. As we see Glenn Burden actually diving her just a little bit deeper, actually catching up with Bruce again as he dives it in a little bit deeper under the bridge again. But Bruce able to get through the S-turns a little bit quicker. This has ended up being an equal race here between the two as Bruce is able to go through the S-turns and the donut a little bit quicker than Glenn. Glenn's acceleration not as up to par as much as Bruce's is coming around the back stretch corner, but they're staying neck and neck because Glenn is able to dive bomb just a little bit deeper because he has the outside lane going under the bridge. Glenn actually trying to push his heart out, trying to get in front of Bruce, but not able to do it. About maybe approximately 8 car lengths difference between him and Bruce at the end of that heat. Glenn Burden, 123 laps, our current leader right now. Tom Payton, 122. Robert Whitaker, 109. Gerald Suttle, 98. Guillermo Sire, 79. Bruce Bullington, 66. Randy Kirtley, 54. Sam Nelson, 47. As we head back into this racing in the next heat, I'm very, very curious of how we're going to see that battle between Bruce and Glenn develop. As we see Glenn able to turn 24 laps on green, Bruce 22, but they both tied on the middle ground there, 26 and 26. Bruce Bullington blue, Glenn Burden blue. So they're making the cross right now as we see, and their car is very, very much competitive with one another. Randy Kirtley right now currently with 27 average laps, 27 in both lanes. Currently our leader when it comes to average laps turned with the GRC. 1 minute and 40 seconds left before we go green. All of our racers now working on their cars. In the bottom right of your corner, you can see Gerald Suttle there. Looked like he was heading to his pit station, but now he's turned back around. He's coming around the track, getting ready to go. Sam Nelson also there in the upper right portion of your screen. Robert Whitaker there, putting his car on white, getting ready to go back racing. Glenn Burden, one of our fast guys from last heat there, now on orange. Going to be racing probably neck and neck with Randy Kirtley this heat on blue. Then again, him and Bruce Bullington definitely fighting tooth and nail that last heat. It was a thing to see. That's the kind of racing you love to see, is when they're neck and neck and they don't get in enough contact that actually causes them to come out. We got 16 seconds. There's the man Bruce coming around the High Banks corner there on orange. Or he's not on orange lane, but he's on the orange track there of the High Banks. Bruce Bullington actually going to purple lane, just right in front. Like I said, about 8 or so car lengths in front of Glenn Burden there on orange. Tom Payton there correcting the car of Glenn Burden on orange. So we go live again. We see Glenn Burden there able to dive bomber in there deep, not coming off, but the other two cars next to him did, one of them being Bruce Bullington. As we see Glenn now trying to reel in Robert Whitaker and was able to do it and pass him successfully. Glenn Burden still currently our leader there on orange lane as we keep an eye on him until further notice. He's able to run quite, as he comes off underneath the bridge there and has a hard flip. So Tom Payton actually doing the rules as justice. Whoever hits the button goes behind the line. But it was also a good call for Glenn to hit that button so quickly, as he didn't lose a whole lot there. Like I said, if you wreck under the bridge, it's a good idea to hit the button because you're only losing about 8 or 9 car lengths there, and you're saving the time from someone trying to finger themselves up in there and get that car. But as we go back green racing here, we see on the orange lane yet again, reeling in Robert Whitaker as Robert Whitaker slides off there in the S turns. Glenn Burden able to keep his car in. We get a double tap of the button. We need these cars to go in front of the line for sure, as no one's off in the backstretch. But they all ignore it as we continue to race, as no one is following the rules here at Lanes Raceway. We go back green yet again, and we see Glenn Burden there trying to catch up with the pack of people. Robert Whitaker right there in front of him again as he makes the pass there on the inside of Robert Whitaker off white. Able to carry more speed through the donut, catching up now to Sam Nelson there on red. As he reels Sam in, Sam's car really flying there on red, able to carry a lot more speed through the donut than Glenn is. Out of nowhere, Randy Kirtley makes the pass on the inside of Glenn Burden on blue, enables to dive bomb underneath the track as we get a yellow flag condition here. Car coming off, Randy Kirtley fixing it on the back stretch of Robert Whitaker's white car. Glenn Burden there on orange, dive bombing underneath the bridge yet again, giving it everything he's got to pass Sam Nelson on red. And he does, and a wreck ensues, but a nice coast to come out of Glenn's car there in the High Banks. This is where you want the track to get shut off, definitely, is whenever you're on full trigger, zero brake. Glenn Burden back underway there on orange, giving it everything he got as we get another track call. Straight up. Sam Nelson loving the music selection here at Lanes Raceway as he yells out dead or alive. As he's dive bombing there in red, running red very well as he's able to carry a lot of speed around the High Banks corner. It doesn't even look like he's lifting on red, so that's good. He's got his car in tune to not have to blip on red. That is a difficult feat here at Lanes Raceway as many cars come off on red, white, and green. There, orange still yet smooth as butter as he has been in the past 4 or 5 races here. On orange, Glenn Burden. Glenn Burden making smooth transitions here on the orange track as late as because he has been doing nothing but racing GTP racing. He's been racing GRC. He's been racing anything that we do here. He's been doing it. And I'll tell you what, you can see a big change in the way Glenn races. The other night I raced with him, and I gave it everything I could with my 4-inch car. And I'll tell you what, I had nothing for him. I had nothing for Paul Woosley. I had nothing for Tom Payton. I was just getting beat and banged all the way around. Nothing I could do. These guys just had me in fold. So we see Glenn Burden there, still 149 laps, 1 lap ahead of Robert Whitaker. 8 laps ahead of Robert Whitaker. Robert Whitaker with 130. And Gerald Sutter 125, Tom Payton 122, Bruce Bullington 90, Randy Kirtley 82, Guillermo Sire 79, Sam Nelson 72 laps to round up your field. Kind of all over the place when it comes to total laps. Minute and 45 seconds, these guys are going to work on their cars. We see the slips in the slots to make sure that they put their cars back where they're supposed to. Guillermo Sire there in the portion of the bridge where we go up underneath, right behind the donut there. So he goes to work on his car over there by probably where Randy Kirtley's sitting. That's where he usually puts his box when he comes. I always enjoy Guillermo to come in here too. Is Guillermo's quite usually the competition, increases the competition here for sure, as he has been known to go all over the place in race slot cars. He got his beginning start, I believe, in Argentina, if I'm not mistaken. That's what he said. Argentina is where he started racing slot cars. And of course, we got some stuff actually from Argentina's slot here. So, now whether or not that's from Argentina, I don't know. But a little research will probably tell you whether or not that's the case. 50 seconds left to go before we go green. Of course, I'm sitting here. I'm drinking brisk iced tea yet again, one of my favorite drinks. We got a full selection of drinks here at Lanes Raceway that many enjoy. And we get some kind of specialty drinks and stuff. We do got banana drink back. I know there was a few asking last week whether or not we got the banana drinks back. Well, we got them back. And I know a few of them's come in and they've drank them a couple of the bananas. I always wondered if you mix the cocoa drink and the banana, if it would be like chocolate banana. Maybe mix that with that and a little bit of the strawberry lemonade. I don't know, maybe I'm going a little too far there, but nonetheless, might have to try something like that eventually. As I've even thought about bringing my famous custard here for people to drink, as I drink that stuff by the gallon usually. We see an upper right, or the bottom right-hand corner, upper right corner of it, we see Bruce Bullington there, one of our favorites when it comes to GRCs, as he is able to really produce a fast car. We'll see how he's able to run black lane. As we get a car coming off into black lane there, just out of nowhere, we see Bruce Bullington able to set that car back on white lane, and that is Glenn Burden, one of the fastest racers out there right now, also our current leader. Behind him on green, we see Sam Nelson trying to reel it in as Sam Nelson dive bombs down there, and he's able to make the pass. Sam Nelson's car running clean as of late in the past few heats. That car's been on fire. As we see the car, it looks to be Glenn Burden's car yet again, sliding off of the track. He's asking Bruce if his car was bent. Bruce says, no, it's actually pretty straight. So if anybody would know, Bruce would, is he brings in some pretty immaculate cars for tech. I've looked underneath those cars before and just been wowed several times by the engineering that took place, because I know for people to bring in really flat and true cars means they've took a lot of time. These things are stamped brass. They do not always come flat and true, nor do they hardly ever. We're going by green, though. Gerald Suttle trying to catch up with old Glenn there on white. Glenn will be coming out this heat, though, so some people will start being able to catch a little bit to Glenn there on white. Glenn, as we can see so far, struggling just a little bit there on white, as I think he's kind of slowing her down a little bit, possibly doing a little bit of blipping action. There could also be some issues. Whoa, as we get several cars there Sam trying to grab his car, ended up causing a little bit of an incident to take place there, as he didn't want it to be worse than that. We see Guillermo Sire's car getting put back on red. It was also involved in that incident. Riders take place every once in a while when they come into the back stretch of the track, and I think that's what took place. As we can still see, Sam's car still quite fast. He didn't push it as hard that time, as maybe the nerves got to him after he took a pretty hard hit there to the hand. Hopefully his hand's doing okay as we get back green racing here, focusing more in on Glenn Burden, our current leader, as he's making through the S-turns there on white, coming into high banks underneath the bridge now. He's going there. He's got somebody pulling up on his outside there on red. That'd be Guillermo Sire. Guillermo Sire able to make the pass, and Glenn Burden coming off a little too aggressive on the back corner there, causing his back to switchblade and come out of the track. The track was turned off in a quick enough fashion that Tom Payton was able to put him back there on white before the start-finish line. So as we head back green there, his car now under control, getting passed on the inside by Sam Nelson on green. Sam really driving that car nice and deep there on green, and that car looking really smooth currently. We see Glenn Burton's car come off under the bridge, but we see Robert Whitaker in a timely fashion getting his car back on. It's a snap back there. This white lane's being very harsh for Glenn Burton, but his car's still running quite smooth. We still see him there as we see a white car able of Sam Nelson to be turned. Sam pretty much lost a lap there, and probably gave a lap to Glenn Burton as Glenn let off, not to cause any kind of damage to Sam's car. Glenn always looking out for every racer here at Lanes Raceway. Definitely a friend of us personally and for the track as a business. Sam and Glenn getting into a little bit of contact there. Glenn Burton, 172 laps. First place still, 20 laps down from him. Gerald Suttle with 152. Robert Whitaker was 130. Tom Payton, 122. Bruce Bullington, 115. Randy Kirtley, 110. Guillermo Sauer, 104. And to end it up, Sam Nelson with 96. Now, after this heat, we're going to see Glenn Burton come out, and he's going to do his 3 setouts to come back in on the final heat to finish up red. So we'll see where he stands after all that is said and done. Gerald Suttle, he's got a couple more heats left to go also. Tom Payton's got 3. Bruce has got 3. Randy's got 4. Guillermo's got 4. And Sam Nelson's got 4. So all these guys at the bottom 4 there have several opportunities to catch up with the guys up top. Tom Payton probably setting in the best position when it comes to being able to gain the most laps in the next minute or the next heat or so, simply because he has 3 and he's in the upper portion. So he shares 3 with some from the lower portion. So we might see Tom battling for a top 3 position when it's all said and done. Also, 1 minute and 36 seconds left to go as each one of these racers take their time to go out there and do their best to get their cars underway and get them settled. We see Guillermo Sauer, he's already back in action. He's ready. He got his car set back on green, ready to go racing. Bruce Bullington back in the mix. A great sight to see. I want to see old Bruce and Randy and Tim maybe on a Thursday night get together and see out of the battle of and now, of course, for sure, Glenn Burton, as here of late, he has been doing nothing but stomping people here at Lanes Raceway. Get those 4 guys in a good GRC race maybe on the oval and see who comes out alive, because these 4 guys are definitely out for blood when it comes to racing as of late. But a good high echelon style race like that is the kind of stuff I like to see, similar to the way our wing car race was just last week when we had Milton and the guys from Tennessee come down. And Wally from, you may know Wally, most people do around this area at least, as he was a part of the White House Tennessee slot car track group before they disbanded. Anyways, he come down and he brought his car for sure, as he was able to beat Randy, I think by just a lap, maybe 2. But of course, Randy, he gave it everything he could, but he just couldn't surpass Wally. As we get a hurry up and a rush from everybody, thank you for that like. We get a hurry up and a rush there from Bruce. Bruce is getting his car back underway though. So now our leader being Gerald Suttle there on orange. Let's focus in on him as he's able to run a nice clean lap. Underneath him, Bruce Bullington, another one of the favorites when it comes to how smooth of a car he builds. I don't know if Bruce will build them for you, but if he will build them for you, he will definitely build you a nice one. Bruce, he brought in a car. I am sitting on this cover. Give me one moment. This cover is really hurting my backside. It's not a cover, actually. It's like a sheet. I might set a little lower now. But yeah, Bruce and Jay Latham, they both painted up some bodies, look like forged copper. Really cool looking. As we get back, Gerald Settle there on orange. On the inside of him there on black, Randy Kirtley. Both of them battling back and forth as Randy Kirtley's driving her deep there on black, able to carry a lot of speed, just barely getting in front of him, but then losing it as he dives deep there on the inside of the circle. Him and Gerald Settle both giving it everything they got. Gerald Settle now reeling in the car of Bruce Bullington there on yellow, actually kind of braking a little bit early there underneath the bridge. Bruce was able to drive it a little bit deeper, but it's almost like he was maybe just thinking a wreck was going to ensue, so Gerald kind of let off. He's now back, reeling him in yet again as Bruce is driving as deep as he could. Kind of lost a little bit of traction there in the donut, therefore Gerald passed him on the inside of that donut previous lap. Gerald Settle now rounding about the underway. Bruce coming out of nowhere as he drove that baby deep. I don't know how it stayed on underneath that bridge. Both of them battling back and forth. Bruce and Gerald. Here comes Sam Nelson there on blue trying to get in, and he ends up coming out. Bruce and Gerald back at it again, neck and neck underneath the bridge, around the donut, back on the back stretch, around the high banks. Back and forth we go. Gerald now out in the lead as Bruce has to make up that to try to reel him in. Both of these guys neck and neck as there was a wreck under a bridge and a track call that took place. Tom Payton now helping track marshal up underneath the bridge there as he's on the button. We also see Glenn Burden and Robert Whitaker helping track marshal. As we get a red flag, and that's a rotation, ladies and gentlemen. Nice, clean racing there took place. Gerald Settle still holding down first place. Now officially took over Glenn Burden as they both have one heat left to roll. And Gerald Settle will be finishing up after this heat, and that will give us a baseline of what people need to shoot for. Currently, he is 6 laps ahead of our previous leader, Glenn Burden. So Glenn will need to make up that 6 laps plus whatever he runs this heat. Bruce Bullington there in third place with 140, still has 2 heats to row, so setting in a real nice position, him and Randy Kirtley both. Randy Kirtley with 3 heats left at 139, currently probably our highest average turner. Him and Guillermo more close likely within just 6 laps of each other. That might, unless bad things take place, be your first and second finishers. As we can see, Robert Whitaker there with 130 and an average of 21.7, doing better than he was last time for sure. Minute and 44 seconds left to go. We see our current leader there in the bottom right upper left-hand corner. Gerald Settle there working on his car, rubbing maybe some glue in them tires, getting them up and ready to go for the next heat so he can finish up. As you also see behind him, Glenn Burden, maybe those are eyes of piercing pressure because he's like, I can't believe you, Gerald, that you would pass me for that lead. 6 laps difference. How could you do me that way? He's now up here in this little window up here, listening to every word I said. That'd be Glenn Burden, everybody. Glenn Burden, he's thirsty for that win as he's just come off a couple wins here in the GTP series. Last night, Randy he was like, I don't know if I'm going to get in. I don't know if I'm going to. I said, you got to get in. Glenn is wanting your head on a pike. So last night they got in a race, and I think it was just within a lap or so of each other even last night. But the night that me, him, and Tom got into it, man, was that a bloodthirsty night. As each one of us might have come off one time every other heat. I mean, we were just keeping it on that orange track, just giving it everything that we could. And, of course, Glenn was able to beat both me and Tom. But 28 seconds left to go as we head back in here. Tom Payton now actually going to be coming back in. Tom Payton, like I said, he was in that GTP race with us, and he's got him a nice little GTP car set up in our 4-inch class. And it was flying. We see the man himself we were just talking about, the bloodthirsty man of Glenn Burden. I say bloodthirsty, but really he's not really that bloodthirsty. He's really a kind guy on the field. If you give him a little nudge and you're both racing hard, he understands. He's not vindictive. He will definitely still let you by when you're really, really fast. Just a top-notch racer here at Lanes Raceway. We get racing, and it looked like Tom Payton's car almost popped out there on red. Maybe he should blip a little bit on red. Who knows if he's got his car set up. Gerald Settle on white, our current leader, let's keep an eye on him as he comes around the high banks underneath the bridge there. He's kind of all himself, but he comes off underneath the bridge as we see Robert Whitaker there trying to get him put back on in a timely fashion. And we do appreciate Robert Whitaker coming down and hanging out with us. And I do love this little ghost program that Dad got set up, as it kind of frees a little bit of the anxiety of having to run back and forth to the track. Helps me focus in a little bit more on giving a good commentation here for you and everyone else involved, as we see Sam Nelson's car coming off out of nowhere on white lane. Looks like maybe he needs to blip there on white, as that's where he came out, right there where Sam Nelson is. And he kind of just rolled the wall all the way around. But Gerald Suttle still in the lead, 184. Next to him, Randy Kirtley. Gerald Suttle rounding around the high banks there as he reels in the next car there on purple, Sam Nelson. Sam Nelson going around. My wife giving me a gentle stroke on the cheek, just giving you up-to-dates here as she goes to do something that she's going to do. Roundabout's way, high banks there, underneath the bridge. Nice tight cornering there done by Gerald, as Gerald's able to keep that car on nice and crisp, and he's carrying a lot of speed through the S-turns. Gerald Suttle, every time a man in the lead hears under the bridge and you're fixing to go under it, it's such a scary thought. It doesn't matter what lane you're on, because it's really a crapshoot. You don't know. Is he in my lane? Is he on the far lane? You don't know, because you're so focused in on your car, as Gerald Suttle goes yet again to reel in that purple car, Sam Nelson. So he's going as hard as he can there. The inside is gaining up so much as he's carrying a lot of speed through the S-turns. He's getting dive bombed there, as he has to brake a lot sooner than everybody else. So he's getting dive bombed by the middle lanes of orange and blue of Bruce Bullington and Guillermo Sauer. But nonetheless, he is running very consecutive, very consistent, not coming off on his car. This is the type of racing where that he is racing his lane. And I'll tell you right now, when it comes to racing a white lane, Gerald Suttle is doing the mix for sure. Running very, very good and very clean on white lane. Only coming off once and not involved in the other incidents for this heat. Gerald Suttle still out in the lead with 2:02 as he finishes up his final heat with an average of 25.2. Now, this is definitely upper average. Currently, right now, that is second place average. So we'll see how Gerald hangs on as we progress here. Glenn Burton still has one heat left to go, holding on to second place as Randy Kirtley there with 2 heats, going to be able to surpass Glenn Burton here in just a moment as we start the next heat, pushing Glenn to third place. Bruce Bullington right there on the nip and heels of Randy Kirtley, as he still has one heat left to go, and that'll be next heat. So we'll see how Bruce ends up finishing up, as he has got an average of 23.6 after that last heat. Guillermo Sauer, 161, 26.8 is his average. He's going to start climbing. Tom Payton, Sam Nelson, Robert Whitaker, 147, 147, 130. Tom Payton, Sam Nelson, man, are these guys running the same race? Same average, same laps. These guys are dead on each other, really racing hard. So might be something in the future if they get next to each other, just to keep an eye out. Next up, our lineup at 1 minute and 30 seconds before they go back green. Robert Whitaker, red lane. Bruce Bullington, white lane. Tom Payton, green. Randy Kirtley, orange. We got a ghost on blue. We got a ghost on yellow. Don't be afraid, though. These ain't real ghosts. Guillermo Sauer, purple. Sam Nelson. And if you ever do encounter a real ghost, well, you know who to call. Minute and 12 seconds left to go. We see Sam Nelson in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, but he's in the upper left hand of the bottom right, getting his car put back there on black as he gets ready to go in 1 minute. We had a very successful pinball competition Friday, as it was the first one that Glenn didn't take home the victory. Bethy took home the victory this last pinball competition that we took place. And it was between, I believe, Rush and Mandalorian was the two that they, and my wife here stroking my cheek again. It was between those two pinball machines, as I let the final two decide which pinball they liked the best, and then I just put it in a randomizer and randomized it. and it ended up going on Rush, I believe, was the final pinball machine, and she ended up taking home the victory for sure. So everybody really enjoyed that. As the way we do it is any five or below, we'll do a three strike system because it's all time based. Now, if we have over five entrants, then we have to move it to a two strike because after the pinball tournament, we also hold a race. And that race being the race that Glenn Burden pretty much stomped me and Tom in, half to death actually, as he beat us by several laps. As we go back green racing here, Randy Kirtley now your current leader there on orange lane. Very, very quick as he's rounding about the S turns there. We keep an eye on him. Also, a guy you definitely want to keep an eye on is he breaks there on the backstretch corner there. A button is pressed, so they're able to get him back on in a timely fashion for sure. We also see the car, Bruce Bullington, kind of after the hit was hit, he lost brake, he was able to come up out of the slot there. Randy Kirtley back around as he goes up underneath the bridge, pushing that power as he's involved in another incident there on orange. But he comes back around, he's underneath the bridge. We get a bridge call. He's able to coast underneath there as we see Glenn Burden with his head looking up underneath there to see if he can get him. This is where it pays to have really long arms. I hope he didn't injure himself there as he reached up underneath there. Randy Kirtley there, quickest through the S turns on orange as they make another lap there. We're having a car having a little bit of trouble coming out on black. A little bit too much of aggression there. Probably turn the sensitivity down in that controller a little bit. He'd make it around black a lot easier. But sensitivity too high, you just get on the trigger a little bit too much and you end up flying. That red car, Robert Whitaker, sliding out yet again there in the S turns. We also seen Bruce Bullington coming off there in the S turns. Back on orange, we see Randy Kirtley really driving a clean, fast lane between orange, about to pass that car on black of Sam Nelson as he rips through the S turns, leaving Sam Nelson about 6 car lengths behind. Randy Kirtley, probably the quickest person. If you keep an eye on him going through the S turns, as he goes around the high banks here, we're going around the donut now in the S turns. You can see how much quicker he is than everybody else through the S turns. And this is all about balancing and weight distribution of that car and when to let off and get back into the trigger. Unlike most racers, or at least novice racers, they don't know that you can actually gain time by getting back in the trigger in the belly of the S turn. So right here, he was in the gas as he was gassing it up into the final corner there on the orange track. We got a rider there on red. That rider being Bruce Bullington as he comes off underneath the bridge, and we get a track call. But we're going back green. I guess they got him back on. As we get to go, and we got a dead car here on black. Sam enjoying himself as he's like, you don't ever do it. I don't know what that was about, but these guys having a great time out there laughing and cutting up. And boom, we're into a red flag. Well, we got it paused, but this pause was 0 seconds, so this ain't going to last long. Randy Kirtley, your leader, with 191 laps on orange. As we get a red flag, that's the end of this heat. This is round robin heat 10 of 11 with Ghost. Current leader still in the lead, Gerald Suttle with 202 as he has completed his final rotations. Randy Kirtley with 1 heat left to go as we'll see him tick over and take that first position in this final heat. We also see Guillermo Sauer there with 1 more heat to go with 185. He'll also take that over. Bruce Bullington finishing with 182 as he will probably rest in 4th or 5th in this one. Glenn Burden there with 172, still 1 heat left to go as he's coming back in. 1 heat left to go, Tom Payton 167. 1 heat left to go, Sam Nelson 167. There's going to be a battle between Tom and Sam for sure. And 1 heat left to go with Robert Whitaker with 148. So these guys having a great time out there. Total laps difference, about 50 laps difference total between everybody from top to bottom. Average laps 21 to 25. pretty good, as that's just the mainly people getting involved in wrecks and still yet setting out, having to run their other heats. As we come down into the last heat here, we got Glenn Burden on red, Randy Kirtley on white, Robert Whitaker on green, that Ghostly Ghoul on 3 on orange, Tom Payton on blue, Sam Nelson on yellow, another one of them ghosts on purple, and Guillermo Sauer on black. So if you are Tom Payton, Robert Whitaker, Sam Nelson, or Guillermo Sauer, you're feeling a little bit more comfortable, as you kind of got a reprieve between the individuals in your lane, because there's no one in them lanes. But at the same time, everyone, one time or another, has had that break in between those lanes, as the ghosts have given that to everybody. I think it's twice, if I'm not mistaken, because you get it one time on one side, and then you cross over each individual, and you get it on the other side. 37 seconds left to go. We see Guillermo Sauer in the bottom right of your screen, upper right portion, and he's on black now. That was the man I was telling you about earlier. Got his start in Argentina racing slot cars. But bringing your focus into two fast racers here, Glenn Burden and Randy Kirtley, this heat for sure, as both of these guys been really racing hard on the orange track as of late. 2 seconds left to go. Cloudy day here at Livermore, Kentucky, and somewhat cold, as we got a little bit of snow, I believe, over towards Louisville area. So go back green there on white. Randy Kirtley dive bombing her in there. Close behind him, Glenn Burden. He's up underneath the bridge as he's going to try to make a pass, and he wasn't able to do it that lap. He's trying to get Robert Whitaker there on green. He's able to do it as Robert Whitaker's car comes off the track. Easily getting his car put back on. Randy Kirtley still pushing hard. And we see Glenn Burden there kind of somewhat slowing down as Randy Kirtley is able to reel him in, and Glenn Burden's car comes completely off in the backstretch. See if Guillermo can reach that, as he's able to get that. Glenn Burden's able to get his car put back on in a timely fashion. Guillermo Sauer currently in second place, 8 laps down from Randy Kirtley, as Randy Kirtley's really giving everything he's got. Guillermo Sauer there on black with a little bit of leeway there as he rounds around the donut portion of the track, and he's really carrying some speed there on black. We'll see if Randy Kirtley's able to defend off Guillermo as they come within just a few laps of one another. Glenn Burden there doing his best to try to catch Randy Kirtley. As we get a halfway through the heat warning. Seven laps difference separating Guillermo from Randy Kirtley. We'll see what happens here as we continue racing. Randy Kirtley coming around the high banks there, dive bombing her deep, able to take the sharp corners there very, very well for his car. It's going to be hard for Guillermo to catch him unless he drives a little bit harder around the donut on black. This is essential as he's braking a little bit too early there on black and not driving it as hard as he should through black. You should almost hear the back end is crisp, if that's a word, next to the outer corner there, and you're driving it just about right with these cars. I'm not saying he's driving it bad, as he is very much above pace as he's passing other people, but it just needs to be dive bombed a little bit harder and drove a little bit deeper, whereas Randy Kirtley is dive bombing hard on white, and he is crisply getting around white on that shorter corner of the donut, as he is actually now reeling in Guillermo there on black, as Randy Kirtley is able to make the pass on red of Glenn Burden, and he did it just by the hair as he did it on the backstretch, making it easier on both Glenn and him. The race is now officially over for the half section of the duel. Randy Kirtley with 219, Guillermo Sauer with 211. Gerald Suttle with 202 to finish up your top three as I take a quick snap pick of the final results. As we're going to be stopping the record here for the YouTube, and then we'll start it back up here